On July 20th, 2025, Hollywood's brightest smile vanished forever. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, Theo Huxtable himself, the big brother millions of us grew up with, was suddenly gone, pulled under by the ocean on a family trip to Costa Rica. But as shocking as that was, what came after his death was even stranger. Because just days after his funeral, a locked archive Warner had guarded for decades was finally opened. Inside were family photos, private letters, and career relics no one had ever seen. But hidden among them were mysterious notes and cryptic reminders that didn't just raise eyebrows, they raised questions that may never be answered. Some say these papers were nothing more than keepsakes. Others believe they exposed a side of Warner the world was never meant to see. And here's the part no one can explain. Why did this archive unlock right after his death? Coincidence or something else? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, the secrets inside that archive will make you question everything you thought you knew about Malcolm-Jamal Warner. The archive itself became an instant lightning rod for speculation. On the surface, it was a collection of personal treasures, faded photographs of Warner as a child clutching a bass guitar, backstage snapshots from Malcolm and Eddie, scribbled notes with reminders like, "Protect what matters most." But then came the whispers. Online forums and pop culture blogs lit up with theories. Some claimed that Warner had been preparing to release a tell-all memoir that could have shaken Hollywood. Others believed the archive contained explosive details about The Cosby Show, the kind of secrets that could reframe the legacy of America's favorite sitcom. Conspiracy videos racked up millions of views, painting Warner's drowning as suspicious. Was it really an accident, or had he been silenced before revealing too much? But when the dust settled, the truth was less scandalous and far more human. Verified outlets like People and Variety reported that the archive wasn't filled with bombshells. It was filled with memories. Letters to his mother, lyrics for unfinished songs, ticket stubs from concerts, even pay stubs from early acting gigs. Nothing criminal, nothing explosive. Just the life of a man who valued privacy above spectacle. Still, the unease didn't vanish. The timing, his death, followed by the archive's unlocking, was too haunting for some to dismiss, which left one question hanging in the air. Why was Warner so private in the first place? To answer that, we have to go back to where his story truly began. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's journey started on August 18th, 1970 in Jersey City, New Jersey. Even his name carried weight. Malcolm was a tribute to Malcolm X, the fearless civil rights leader, while Jamal came from Ahmad Jamal, the legendary jazz pianist. From birth, destiny seemed to whisper his name. His mother, Pamela Warner, raised him largely on her own after separating from his father. She worked tirelessly, but more importantly, she believed her son was meant for greatness. Pamela wasn't just a caretaker, she was his first coach, his earliest manager, and his most loyal protector. Growing up, Malcolm wasn't surrounded by wealth or Hollywood glamour. His world was small, humble, sometimes tough, but inside that world, he discovered something powerful, a love for performance. By age 7, he was already imitating TV characters in front of the mirror, memorizing their words, their expressions, their smallest gestures. Pamela noticed the spark immediately. She enrolled him in acting classes, then pushed further, enrolling him at New York's Professional Children's School, a place where young dreamers trained for the big stage. Most kids his age were worried about math homework. Malcolm was worried about auditions. By 9, he was already working. Theater productions, commercials, small appearances, stepping stones toward something much bigger. And even then, his mother's voice echoed in his ear. Don't let the spotlight blind you. Remember where you come from. And in 1984, that grounding voice would carry him into the audition that changed his life forever. By 1984, Warner's years of preparation collided with the opportunity of a lifetime. NBC was holding nationwide auditions for a brand new sitcom, The Cosby Show. They wanted someone fresh, believable, and funny to play Theo Huxtable, the eldest son of a middle-class black family in Brooklyn. Over 200 kids auditioned. Most came from polished acting backgrounds. Some already had agents with Hollywood clout. But 13-year-old Malcolm walked in and immediately stole the room. His humor felt real, his delivery effortless, his charm undeniable. Out of hundreds, he landed the role. That single casting decision changed television history. From its very first season, The Cosby Show became a phenomenon, topping Nielsen charts and rewriting how America saw family sitcoms. For viewers, Warner was no longer just Malcolm. He was Theo, the kid brother everyone wanted to hang out with. By 16, he was juggling two worlds, high school homework and Emmy nominations. In 1986, Warner was nominated for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a comedy series. It was staggering. Most teens worried about prom. Warner was up for one of television's highest honors. But behind the laughter and applause, the pressure was suffocating. Fame that early can break anyone, and Warner knew it. He didn't want to be just the kid from TV. He wanted more, and quietly, he was already planning how to avoid the trap of being typecast forever as Theo. And that's when his hidden passion started to emerge: music. When The Cosby Show wrapped in 1992, after 8 groundbreaking seasons, Warner found himself at a crossroads. He had grown up in America's living rooms, but what came next could define or destroy him. Most child stars fade away. Some crash in flames. Warner refused to be either. Even before the sitcom ended, he was experimenting, directing episodes, appearing in specials, sharpening his behind-the-camera skills. When the curtain finally fell, he didn't cling to nostalgia. He reset. By 1996, he came roaring back with his own sitcom, Malcolm and Eddie. Paired with Eddie Griffin, the show was a 4-season success, running until 2000. Warner proved he wasn't just Theo. He was a comedian with timing wit and real chemistry on screen. But Warner wasn't interested in living inside sitcoms forever. Through the 2000s, he pivoted into deeper roles. From the dystopian sci-fi series Jeremiah to dramatic turns in Read Between the Lines and Major Crimes, Warner showed range that silenced every critic. And then came The Resident. By 2018, Warner had fully reinvented himself as Dr. A.J. Austin, a brilliant, blunt, and at times prickly surgeon who quickly became a fan favorite. The role was sharp, complex, and worlds away from the sweater-wearing teen audiences remembered. It was proof Warner could still own primetime TV decades after his debut, but acting wasn't his only language. Away from the cameras, Warner was chasing another lifelong love that burned just as brightly. Long before he was Theo, Warner had another obsession: the bass guitar. As a kid, the instrument looked bigger than him, but the sound was everything. Jazz, funk, R&B, he soaked it all in. Whenever filming wrapped, he would disappear into New York's smoky jazz clubs, studying musicians who had no idea they were mentoring the next generation. Music became his escape. Where Hollywood demanded perfection, music gave him freedom. He formed his own band, Miles Long, blending jazz with spoken word. He released albums, performed live, and poured his soul into sounds that never made it onto a sitcom script. For years, skeptics brushed it off. Another actor dabbling in music. But in 2015, Warner silenced them all. Teaming up with Robert Glasper and Lala Hathaway, he won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance with their moving track, Jesus Children. That win changed everything. It wasn't just validation, it was vindication. Warner wasn't acting like a musician. He was one, a real one, a respected one, a man who could win Emmys and Grammys in the same lifetime. But while his music soared, his private life told a very different and far more complicated story. For all his success on screen and stage, Warner's private life was marked by both tenderness and heartbreak. His most famous romance began on the set of The Cosby Show. Michelle Thomas, who played Justine Phillips, became not only his on-screen girlfriend, but his real-life partner. Their relationship stretched into the early 1990s. Even after they broke up, their bond never faded. When Michelle was diagnosed with stomach cancer years later, Warner never left her side. In 1998, as her condition worsened, he stayed with her until her final moments. That loss carved a wound he carried for the rest of his life. In 2015, nearly 2 decades later, he posted a haunting tribute. If there was ever an angel who walked amongst us, it was this woman. After Michelle, Warner found stability with another co-star, Karen Molina White. Their relationship lasted 7 years, from 2000 to 2007. Rumors swirled constantly about marriage, but the couple brushed them aside, keeping their love grounded and private. Then came what fans thought would be the fairy tale ending: his romance with Oscar-winning actress Regina King. The two had known each other since the 1980s, and by 2011, their chemistry was undeniable. They quickly became one of Hollywood's golden couples. But on Valentine's Day in 2013, everything collapsed. Regina admitted she was blindsided. When Warner later sent flowers with a note that read, "I still love you," she threw them straight into the trash. He never spoke publicly about it again. For most people, that kind of silence might seem cold. For Warner, it was his pattern. He never fed tabloids, never turned love into spectacle. Instead, he kept moving quietly until the mid-2010s, when his life changed forever. Through a mutual friend, he met a woman outside of Hollywood, a lawyer from Connecticut. No media setup, no red carpet reveal, just two people who began as friends and slowly fell into something deeper. By 2016, they quietly married. A year later, their daughter was born. In one rare social media post, Warner shared a black and white photo holding his newborn with the caption, "Peaceful time with family takes on a whole new meaning." Beyond that, he said little. No names, no faces, no paparazzi shots. He guarded his family fiercely, refusing to let fame devour what mattered most. That commitment to privacy didn't just protect his family, it also shaped how he handled the shadows that came with Hollywood itself. By the mid-2000s teens, Warner had cemented himself as a versatile actor and musician. But the world he came from, The Cosby Show, was crumbling. When allegations against Bill Cosby exploded, the once beloved family sitcom became tainted. Warner had nothing to do with the scandal, yet the shadow fell on him too. Interviews became awkward, questions about Cosby inevitable. Warner admitted, "It's heartbreaking to see something once so pure in people's hearts become tarnished." But beyond that, he chose silence. He focused on work, not gossip, on music, not scandal. And then he found a new outlet, his voice. In 2024, Warner launched a podcast called Not All Hood. It was unfiltered, raw, and honest. He broke down culture, art, and society in ways fans had never heard before. For someone who had spent decades hiding his private life, the podcast was a revelation. It wasn't gossip or spectacle, it was Malcolm finally speaking in his own words. On July 18th, 2025, just 2 days before his death, he uploaded what would become his final episode. Listening back now, fans cling to his words, searching for meaning in every sentence. And then tragedy struck. On July 20th, 2025, Warner was on a family vacation in Costa Rica. The morning looked perfect. Clear skies, calm waves, the kind of day meant for peace. He waded into the water at Pauco Beach with his young daughter, but beneath the beauty lurked danger. A powerful rip current pulled them both away from the shore. Lifeguards rushed in. His daughter was saved, but Warner was dragged farther and farther into open water. By the time rescuers pulled him out, it was too late. On the sand, they fought to revive him with CPR. In the ambulance, they tried again. At the hospital, doctors gave everything they had, but Warner was gone. The coroner's report confirmed the cause: drowning due to asphyxiation. No foul play, no hidden wounds, just a tragic accident. The news shattered fans. Just 48 hours earlier, Warner was alive, vibrant, posting about future plans for his podcast. And now, silence. But in death, the archive he left behind spoke louder than ever. When Warner's archive was unlocked, the world expected scandal. Instead, it revealed something more powerful: discipline, privacy, and values. Notes like, "Protect what matters most," weren't tabloid fodder. They were guiding principles. In a world where child stars often crumble under fame, Warner built a blueprint for survival. He kept his art alive for 4 decades, shifting from sitcoms to drama, from acting to music, from the stage to podcasts. He earned Emmy nods and Grammy wins. But more than that, he earned respect by protecting his family, his craft, and his peace. The real mystery of Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't in the conspiracies swirling around his death. It was in how he chose to live, quietly, independently, refusing to let Hollywood define every part of him. Maybe that's his final lesson, that not everything needs to be explained, dissected, or put on display. Sometimes the silence says more than the noise ever could. And for fans who grew up with him, from the Huxtable living room to the operating room of The Resident, Warner leaves behind more than nostalgia. He leaves behind a message: love deeply, live authentically, and protect what matters most, no matter the cost. If you want to keep uncovering the real-life stories and hidden truths of the stars you love, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, because the next story waiting for you might just shock you even more.